Welcome, the anointed ones. Access is never accidental. If you're allowed near certain people, it's because something in you can handle the weight of who they are. Here's the part nobody warns you about. Not every presence is neutral. Some people walk into rooms and nothing shifts. Others walk in and the temperature changes, conversations lose their script, and people suddenly feel the urge to either impress, compete, confess, or retreat. That's not coincidence. That's hierarchy. Unspoken, energetic, and deeply human. And no, it has nothing to do with being loud, flashy, spiritual, or dramatic. In fact, it usually belongs to the person who isn't trying at all. There's a psychological fact most people don't like admitting. Humans subconsciously rank each other within seconds, not based on words, but on nervous system signals, confidence, regulation, self-trust, and internal authority. Studies in behavioral science show that people instinctively defer to those who appear least reactive and most internally anchored. Translation? The person who isn't scrambling for validation quietly becomes the reference point in the room. That's why certain individuals don't need to announce themselves. Their presence does the paperwork before they open their mouth. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, and a little funny if you've lived it. People swear they don't care, yet suddenly they're watching you, copying phrases, adjusting their posture, laughing a bit too hard at your jokes, getting oddly defensive over nothing. It's like your mere existence hit a hidden button they didn't know was installed. And the wild part? You're just standing there, not plotting, not posturing, not trying to be impressive, just existing, menacingly calm. It's almost rude, really. This is why access to you isn't casual. You're not background energy. You're not filler. You're not someone people can mishandle and walk away unchanged. Being around you requires self-awareness, emotional maturity, and a willingness to be honest. Qualities in short supply but high demand. Some people rise in your presence, others short-circuit. Both reactions reveal more about them than they ever will about you. So when we say, they better be careful with you, it's not a threat, it's a warning label. Because being in your presence isn't entertainment, it's exposure. And not everyone deserves front-row seats to that. Number 1. Your presence destabilizes false identities and people feel exposed around you. Some people don't dislike you because of what you did. They feel unsettled because of what stops working when you're around. The version of themselves they usually perform, confident, harmless, impressive, innocent, superior, doesn't land the same way in your presence. You don't buy into it, even unconsciously. And the body knows before the mind does. Their posture changes, their voice shifts, they over-explain, overshare, or suddenly go quiet in a way that feels forced. Something in them realizes, this person can see past the costume. Most people survive by maintaining an identity that keeps them safe. The nice one, the tough one, the victim, the hero, the intellectual, the misunderstood genius. These identities are not lies on purpose. They're coping mechanisms. But when you're around, those mechanisms glitch. You don't reward performance. You don't respond the way the script expects. You don't play along. And that creates exposure, not public humiliation, internal exposure, the kind where someone feels seen by themselves. That's why reactions to you are rarely mild. People either lean in or pull away. Some feel relieved because they're tired of pretending and sense you won't require it. Others feel irritated for no clear reason. They may nitpick you, misinterpret your tone, or assign intentions you never had. What they're really reacting to is the discomfort of being unable to hide comfortably. You're not judging them. You're not testing them. You're simply grounded in who you are, and that stability acts like a spotlight. It reveals the gap between who someone is and who they've been presenting. For people who've built their entire sense of safety on that presentation, your presence feels risky. This is why access to you should never be casual. Being around you isn't just hanging out. It's an encounter with truth, whether someone wants it or not. You don't expose people by attacking them. You expose them by being real in a world full of performance. And not everyone is brave enough to stand in that space without flinching. Number 2. People gain clarity or lose control after interacting with you. There is no neutral outcome. Being around you is not a casual experience. People either leave clearer, more aligned with themselves, or they spiral because they can't handle the reflection you give them. You don't have to say much. You don't have to confront anyone directly. Your energy, your groundedness, and your refusal to play games act like a mirror that people can't look away from. Some see the truth of themselves for the first time. They realize how much of their life has been guided by fear, lies, or the need to impress. That clarity hits hard, but it feels like relief. It feels like permission to drop the masks and stop performing. And they love you for it, even if it unsettles them at first. Then there's the other type, the ones who cannot face what your presence reveals. They feel exposed, defensive, and off balance. Subconsciously, they know that their patterns, manipulations, or avoidance tactics won't work around you. Their attempts to control the situation, influence the narrative, or assert dominance backfire because your steadiness doesn't react to their triggers. They end up showing their true selves in ways they never intended. Their anxiety, insecurity, and hidden agendas surface because your presence doesn't accommodate pretense. This is why interactions with you are never neutral. There's no casual, surface-level experience that leaves people unchanged. Even if you walk away quietly, the impact lingers. They may replay the conversation, notice things they've been ignoring about themselves, or realize how out of alignment they've been with their own life. Your mere presence forces a reckoning. You create a space where honesty and self-awareness can't be avoided. That makes some people grateful and others agitated. But either way, they leave transformed. The room shifts, the energy shifts, and people leave either stronger or in temporary chaos. But they leave different. That is the gravity you carry, the invisible force that demands truth without confrontation. Being near you is a test, not by your design, but by the undeniable reality of who you are. Number 3. You unintentionally mirror people's inner contradictions back to them. There's a strange kind of power in the way you exist. You don't have to point fingers, call anyone out, or make a scene. Simply by being consistent, self-aware, and unshakably aligned with yourself, you reflect back the parts of people they'd rather not see. When someone walks into a room with unspoken agendas, hidden fears, or contradictions in their behavior, you act like a living mirror. They catch themselves mid-thought, mid-action, mid-word, and suddenly it's impossible for them to ignore the gap between who they pretend to be and who they actually are. This mirroring effect isn't malicious. It's not a tactic or a game. It's a natural consequence of your clarity and presence. People who are used to manipulating situations, managing perceptions, or hiding behind superficial charm, feel off balance because you don't participate in the same illusions. You simply exist as the version of yourself that is grounded, coherent, and real, and that forces them to confront inconsistencies they've been avoiding for years. Their discomfort is not about you, it's about the truth they've been running from. Because of this, some people overcompensate around you. They talk too much, explain too much, laugh too loudly, or even argue over trivial matters. Their actions are often a subconscious attempt to reclaim control or mask the unease your presence triggers. Others withdraw completely, avoiding eye contact, curbing their usual bravado, or pretending nothing is happening. They feel the reflection of themselves staring back and instinctively want to escape. Being around you is like holding up a spotlight without even trying. The light doesn't judge, it doesn't comment, it simply exposes. and exposure makes people squirm. It forces honesty in ways words cannot. That's why some people love you secretly, others fear you quietly, and many simply can't understand what's happening. You don't have to speak, confront, or lecture. The truth reveals itself because of who you are, and people feel it before they even realize it. Your mere existence unmasks hidden contradictions, and that is a form of influence few ever achieve. Number 4. Your nervous system is regulated in a way most people have never experienced. There's a quality about you that people notice immediately, even if they can't put it into words. You don't overreact, you don't panic, and you don't feed into chaos. You exist in a state of calm, even when everything around you is spinning. It's not because life hasn't thrown storms your way, far from it. It's because your internal system has been trained to respond with clarity, presence, and control. You don't get pulled into drama, and that unsettles people who are used to seeing reactions as the measure of reality. Your steadiness becomes the reference point in any room, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. Most people operate in a constant low-level stress state, even if they wear a confident mask. They react impulsively, misinterpret intentions, and get tangled in emotions that don't belong to them. When they encounter someone like you, someone who remains anchored, they feel disoriented. Your calm doesn't invite chaos, it exposes it. People expect certain triggers to provoke a reaction, and when nothing happens, they start questioning themselves. They overthink every word you say, analyze every gesture, and sometimes even convince themselves you're hiding something simply because your equilibrium is alien to them. Your energy doesn't need to be aggressive or loud to dominate a space. It's the quiet authority of someone who has survived, processed, and integrated life at a level most people can't even comprehend. That's why manipulators, liars, and attention seekers struggle around you. They try to provoke, bait, or control. But your nervous system doesn't respond in ways that are exploitable. Their tactics fail before they even begin. Being near you is like being next to a human metronome, predictable in rhythm, unwavering in tempo. It's not boring, it's profoundly unsettling for those who thrive on instability. They may admire it secretly, but they will also fear it without knowing why. Your regulated presence is a force of its own, unspoken but undeniable. It commands attention, respect, and caution. People who meet it once feel it forever, because it's not something that can be imitated or faked. Number 5. You cannot be manipulated long-term, and manipulators sense this early. There's a radar people don't talk about, a subtle frequency that you emit, even without trying, that makes manipulators uneasy. They can feel it before words are exchanged, before intentions are revealed. It's in the way you hold yourself, the consistency in your choices, the refusal to bend to pressures that aren't aligned with your truth. Some people test you, intentionally or not, to see if you can be swayed, guided, or controlled. They gauge how much of their narrative they can insert into your life. The moment they realize their usual tactics, pressure, guilt, charm, intimidation, don't work on you, they become unsettled, frustrated, or even desperate. Manipulators thrive on control, on reading reactions and bending them to their advantage. But with you, that equation breaks. You don't react predictably. You don't absorb chaos as leverage. You don't over-explain or justify yourself. Your actions are deliberate, rooted in clarity, and your boundaries are non-negotiable. That combination is confusing to anyone whose skill set relies on exploiting confusion. They start small, testing limits, creating scenarios, probing vulnerabilities, but eventually they hit the wall of your consistency, and walls cannot be negotiated. This resistance isn't about stubbornness or ego. It's about alignment with reality. Manipulators often mistake compliance for connection and control for respect. When neither is granted, their attempts crumble, often faster than they expect. Some will retreat quietly, realizing they can't bend you. Others will lash out, projecting anger, fear, or contempt, because they've been confronted with a truth they cannot influence. Being around you is a kind of unspoken calibration. People who attempt manipulation discover themselves. Either they adjust their behavior, or they reveal exactly who they are when their tactics fail. Your presence is a filter. It allows only those capable of genuine interaction to remain steady in your orbit. Those who cannot adjust either fall away or expose their patterns. You never have to call it out. It's obvious in how situations unfold. Being unmanipulable is not a skill you flaunt. It's a byproduct of your alignment, your integrity, and the quiet but undeniable authority you carry. Number 6. Your boundaries don't need explaining, and that terrifies entitled people. You don't negotiate your self-respect. You don't tiptoe around it, and you certainly don't feel the need to justify it. Your boundaries exist because you've built them through experience, clarity, and understanding of your own value. They are firm, non-negotiable, and communicated through your energy and actions more than your words. For most people, that level of self-possession is unfamiliar, and it's terrifying for those who are used to taking liberties with others. Entitled people operate under the assumption that rules, limits, and respect are flexible, especially when it comes to people they think they know or deserve. When they encounter someone who refuses to bend, it destabilizes their entire approach. You don't argue about your limits, you don't debate them, justify them, or seek approval. That refusal to explain is unsettling because entitled individuals are conditioned to control, persuade, or guilt people into compliance. Suddenly, they realize that no matter how clever, persistent, or charming they are, they can't make you bend. They start to overanalyze every interaction, second-guess every attempt, and test you repeatedly. Some escalate to hostility, projecting frustration, insecurity, or resentment onto you, all because your boundaries highlight their own inability to respect limits. This doesn't mean you're rigid or unapproachable. It means your sense of self is unshakable. People feel it, whether consciously or not. They sense that any violation of your space, energy, or integrity is impossible without immediate consequences. Your consistency becomes a silent warning sign. Mess with this, and you face the results. That level of accountability is uncomfortable for anyone used to getting their way without resistance. Being around you is a lesson in self-possession without preaching. Your boundaries teach respect simply by existing. They attract people who are willing to meet you as you are and filter out those who aren't. Entitled individuals either learn to step back or inadvertently expose themselves. You don't have to enforce your boundaries aggressively. They enforce themselves because your alignment is absolute, and that absolute presence is something very few are equipped to handle. Number 7. You carry depth that cannot be skimmed, and most people drown trying. There's a weight to you that people feel instantly, even before they hear a word. It's not about being mysterious or complicated, it's about the substance behind your presence. Your thoughts, your experiences, your energy carry layers that weren't built overnight. People sense it because they feel the honesty, the consistency, and the awareness embedded in the way you move through the world. Most people, however, aren't equipped to engage with that level of depth. They try to skim, to keep things light or simple, but they quickly realize there's no surface here to float on. You are a current, and anyone unprepared to swim in it feels disoriented or overwhelmed. That depth manifests in every interaction. Conversations with you don't stay casual. They dig into unspoken truths. Observing you is not passive, it's confronting. You notice inconsistencies in people without pointing them out. You read intentions without effort. You respond in ways that reveal truth without judgment. For some, this is magnetic. For others, it's threatening. They feel exposed, even if you never call attention to anything. The layers you carry reflect a life fully experienced, processed, and integrated, and that level of integrity is foreign to most. Because of this, people often overcompensate around you. They try to impress, to fill the space with noise, or to perform intellect and insight that doesn't match their lived reality. Others withdraw, sensing that there's no way to keep up without showing themselves in a raw, unfiltered way. Either response is a reaction to the gravity of your depth. You don't ask for these reactions. They occur naturally because being around you is not neutral. Your presence demands engagement on a meaningful level. People can't coast, they can't fake, and they can't manipulate the pace of interaction. They must either rise to meet the depth you carry or retreat. And that is why access to you is a privilege. Not everyone can withstand the clarity, the integrity, and the intensity you bring into a space. Your depth is not a burden. It's a filter, a standard, and a reflection of a life lived fully. Those who can navigate it leave stronger. Those who cannot feel the weight, and it changes them whether they like it or not. Number 8. Your empathy is dangerous because it comes with discernment. You don't just feel people, you understand them. You sense their pain, their fears, their insecurities, and even their hidden motivations. But unlike most, your empathy is not blind or unconditional in a naive way. It comes with discernment. You can see through performances, manipulations, and self-deception, and you know when someone's story doesn't match their actions. That combination, deep feeling paired with sharp perception, is what makes your empathy dangerous to those who rely on deception, entitlement, or control. People around you can feel it almost immediately. They sense that you are compassionate, but not gullible. You care, but you also notice every inconsistency. This kind of empathy makes your presence destabilizing for some. People who expect sympathy without accountability feel exposed. They can't hide behind excuses or manipulate your understanding because you don't ignore contradictions. Your care doesn't excuse harm, it illuminates it. That clarity can be uncomfortable, even threatening, to those who have grown accustomed to slipping through the cracks of other people's kindness. They might try to provoke you, manipulate your compassion, or test your patience, but your discernment always reads between the lines. You see what they are doing, why they are doing it, and whether it aligns with truth, and your response, or sometimes even your silence, communicates more than any words could. Empathy with discernment is not about judgment. It's about seeing the real structure beneath the surface. It allows you to connect deeply with those who are honest and ready to grow, while naturally distancing those who aren't. People who experience this from you either feel transformed, recognized and understood, or exposed, unsettled and challenged. There is no middle ground. Because of this, your empathy becomes a kind of filter, a force that naturally shapes your environment. Those who can handle it are drawn closer, often without realizing why. Those who cannot are pushed away, often against their will, because their actions, intentions, and emotional games are impossible to sustain around you. Your empathy doesn't just feel, it influences, clarifies, and holds a subtle but undeniable power that most people can neither ignore nor fully comprehend. Number 9. You don't absorb chaos. You expose its source. When chaos erupts around you, it doesn't stick. You don't carry the drama, the panic, or the manipulations. Instead, it travels through you like water over a stone, unmoved, unreactive, and revealing. People expect turbulence to ripple outward, to affect everyone in the room. But when you're present, the turbulence often bounces back, exposing its origin. Those who are used to stirring conflict, creating tension, or manipulating outcomes quickly realize that their games don't work. The chaos reveals the instigators because you refuse to participate in the illusion. Your energy acts like a spotlight that, without effort, traces every problem back to its source. This doesn't require confrontation or commentary. Your presence alone interrupts the usual flow of manipulation. People who rely on controlling others through confusion or fear suddenly find themselves isolated. Their tactics fail because you respond with clarity and steadiness rather than agitation or compliance. Their own behavior becomes obvious to everyone around them, and sometimes to themselves, because the usual distractions they depend on vanish. That's why manipulators, attention seekers, and drama creators often react in extremes around you, either trying to regain control or retreating entirely. Your effect isn't limited to exposing bad actors. You also bring clarity to the environment. When chaos surrounds you, people instinctively understand who is responsible and who is not. It's like a natural audit, emotional, energetic, and unspoken. Those who have contributed to conflict can't hide, and those who have been innocent are shielded from false blame. Your presence establishes a kind of energetic justice that doesn't need explanation or force. Being around you is not just calming, it's clarifying. People leave encounters with you either aware of their own role in situations or relieved that the storm never touched them. You are not a participant in chaos, nor are you a neutral observer. You are the mirror, the filter, and the stabilizing point that exposes where disorder originates. That makes your presence a privilege and a warning. Chaos cannot take root in your orbit, and those who try are revealed in full, whether they like it or not. Number 10. Your energy demands authenticity, not perfection. You don't care about appearances, status symbols, or polished facades. What matters to you is truth, raw, unfiltered, unpolished truth. That kind of presence is rare, and it makes people uncomfortable because most of the world operates on performance. People are trained to impress, to hide flaws, to curate their image. You see past all of that instantly. You respond to honesty, effort, and integrity, not perfection, and that changes the dynamic in every room you enter. People feel the expectation to show up as themselves, not as a version of who they think they're supposed to be. And that is unsettling for those who have spent their lives hiding behind masks. Your authenticity doesn't scream or demand attention. It simply exists, and the contrast is immediate. Someone trying to maintain a persona realizes that it doesn't hold up around you. Lies, exaggerations, and pretenses bounce off your energy. People can feel that your alignment with your own truth doesn't require validation from others. They notice it in your calm, in the way you carry yourself, in how you respond without reaction. That is what makes them anxious, frustrated, or overly self-conscious. They're being confronted with a standard they can't fake or manipulate. Because of this, relationships, conversations, and interactions with you operate on a higher plane. People either rise to meet the level of honesty you bring, or they reveal themselves through the cracks in their own performance. Your presence doesn't demand perfection from anyone. It demands courage, the courage to be real, to stop performing, and to accept who they truly are. That kind of energy filters everything. Only those willing to be authentic remain in your orbit. Your influence is subtle but undeniable. You teach without lectures, expose without confrontation, and attract without effort. People feel seen for who they are, and they are challenged to reconcile the person they present with the person they actually are. That is the power of being authentically aligned with yourself. You don't need to correct anyone. Your energy corrects the room. It draws honesty, exposes pretense, and demands alignment in a way that few can resist. People either step up or step away, and your presence becomes the test of who can truly exist in your reality. Number 11. You are not easily impressed, and that humbles egos fast. People come into your space expecting reactions, validation, or admiration. They assume that status, money, appearance, or loud displays of power will get your attention. But you are not impressed by these superficial markers. You measure people by their integrity, consistency, and the depth of their character, not by what they own or how they perform. That perspective immediately unsettles those who rely on external validation to maintain their sense of importance. Their usual tricks, showing off, name-dropping, or boasting, fall flat. It's not arrogance on your part, it's discernment, a quiet standard that refuses to be manipulated by appearances. This ability humbles egos because people realize quickly that conventional tactics of influence don't work on you. Someone who is used to being admired or envied feels small, not in a condescending way, but because your presence exposes the emptiness of their usual methods. They have to recalibrate, confront their insecurities, or reveal their true self if they want genuine connection. Many panic, overcompensate, or act defensively simply because the usual levers they pull no longer produce results. Your lack of being easily impressed creates a natural filter. People who thrive on superficial recognition leave the space quickly, either retreating or revealing the fragility of their ego. Those who are authentic, grounded, and aligned remain, often earning a quiet respect from you that cannot be faked or demanded. This dynamic shifts the energy in any room you enter. You set the tone without announcing it. People instinctively adjust because your presence communicates standards, not through judgment, but through clarity and discernment. Being around you is a lesson in substance over show. It exposes empty facades, elevates truth, and humbles those who rely on projection or pretense to assert themselves. Your energy doesn't compete. It filters, aligns, and reveals. Those who understand this benefit, those who don't feel discomfort, sometimes intense, without ever understanding why. You don't need to prove your awareness. Your presence alone humbles and sorts the room, making clear who belongs in genuine spaces and who does not. Number 12. People project their unresolved issues onto you because you don't carry yours publicly. There's a strange effect that happens when you operate from clarity and self-possession. People cannot resist projecting their own mess onto you. They see your confidence, your calm, your alignment, and their first reaction is rarely admiration. Instead, they unconsciously fill the space you occupy with their fears, insecurities, and unresolved conflicts. They assume your neutrality or composure is judgment, your boundaries are personal offenses, and your calmness is a challenge to them. All of this projection happens because you carry your life with integrity. You don't display your struggles, you don't overshare your pain, and you don't dramatize your experiences. People around you, often unconsciously, try to balance the emotional scales by dumping theirs onto you. This projection is why some interactions with you are confusing, even exhausting, for others. They interpret your presence through the lens of their own unresolved trauma or guilt. A simple boundary you set can feel like an attack. Your refusal to engage in manipulation or performative emotion can feel like coldness. People might argue, compete, or create unnecessary tension, but it's never really about you. It's their own inner chaos speaking. Your alignment doesn't just expose them, it forces them to reckon. Over time, they either recognize their projection, step back, and adjust, or they reveal themselves fully, often in ways they never intended. Your stability and transparency act as a mirror, reflecting not who they are in isolation, but who they are in the presence of someone unshakable. This is why being around you is both transformative and intimidating. People are confronted with the parts of themselves they've been avoiding, and you don't have to say a word. The reality is, your grounded presence is a filter. It separates those who are willing to face themselves from those who aren't. People who project onto you often do so because they cannot sustain authenticity around your energy. You don't absorb it, you don't react impulsively, and you don't take responsibility for it. You simply exist, unshaken, and in doing so, you expose the unresolved, the fragile, and the performative, whether they like it or not. Your presence is not just a space, it's a revelation. Number 13. Being close to you accelerates growth, and not everyone wants that. Your presence is not neutral. Being around you changes people, whether they like it or not. You don't do this by pushing, preaching, or correcting. You do it simply by being aligned, aware, and authentic. People sense it immediately. The clarity in your energy, the steadiness of your actions, the truth embedded in your words. For some, this is invigorating. They rise to the occasion, confront their weaknesses, and begin to shed layers they've clung to for years. They feel challenged in a way that is ultimately freeing, as though standing near you pulls them out of confusion and forces them to see themselves clearly for the first time. Your presence speeds up growth in ways therapy, lectures, or advice never could, because it bypasses intellectual resistance and goes straight to awareness. But not everyone is ready or willing for that acceleration. Some people prefer comfort over truth, stagnation over growth. Your energy makes them uncomfortable because it highlights the distance between who they are and who they could be. Around you, their excuses, fears, and avoidance become glaringly obvious. They squirm, push back, or create conflict, trying to slow down the change that being near you naturally induces. They feel exposed without even realizing it, because you don't participate in their avoidance, you don't smooth over their illusions, and you don't dilute reality to protect their ego. That tension is part of your power. You act as a catalyst. People either rise to meet it or retreat entirely. Some will leave better versions of themselves simply because they were allowed to be near you, while others will leave frustrated, defensive, or confused, incapable of handling the mirror you hold up. There's no judgment. It's just the effect of your presence. Being close to you is a privilege because it forces growth. It isn't always comfortable, and it certainly isn't easy, but it is transformative. People who can withstand it benefit profoundly, often in ways they never anticipated. Those who cannot often resent it, yet the experience leaves them changed anyway. Your energy doesn't just touch lives, it accelerates evolution, whether people are ready or not. Number 14. Your presence is a privilege because it comes with responsibility. Being near you is not casual. It is not a background experience, and it is not something anyone should take for granted. Your energy, your alignment, and your clarity demand respect simply by existing. People who are allowed close to you are entering a space that carries accountability, integrity, and unspoken standards. That's why your presence is a privilege. It's not about what you give them, it's about what they are required to bring to the table. Honesty, respect, and awareness. Those who fail to meet that standard reveal themselves quickly. This privilege comes with responsibility, because interacting with you is not just about them. It's about the effect they have on you and the environment you maintain. People are tested in subtle ways the moment they step into your orbit. Every word, action, and intention is registered consciously or unconsciously because your energy exposes pretense, inconsistency, and hidden agendas. They cannot hide behind charm, status, or manipulation. Those who ignore this responsibility risk revealing their true character in ways they never intended, and the consequences are immediate. Your presence teaches people without a single word being said. It communicates that life is not for casual engagement, that truth matters more than appearances, and that access to your time, energy, and space is earned, not assumed. That is why some people feel honored, while others feel unnerved. They recognize the unspoken demand you place on the world around you. You give people clarity, reflection, and the chance to step into alignment, but only if they are willing to rise to it. Ultimately, being in your presence is transformative because it is sacred. It filters who can exist authentically, who can respect limits, and who can engage with truth without fear or manipulation. People who understand this gain an invaluable opportunity to grow, elevate, and recalibrate themselves. Those who fail to recognize it expose themselves, often unintentionally, and reveal patterns they could never hide from someone like you. Your presence is not casual, it is not neutral, and it is not disposable. It is a privilege, and anyone allowed near it carries a responsibility they cannot escape, whether they realize it or not. The truth is simple but profound. Being in the presence of a chosen one is not an ordinary experience. Every interaction, every moment spent near you carries weight, clarity, and transformation. People cannot approach you casually, pretend around you, or manipulate you without consequences. Your energy exposes truths, accelerates growth, and filters out anything that is inauthentic. You don't just exist. You set a standard, a tone, and a rhythm that others unconsciously measure themselves against. Some rise to meet it, stepping into greater alignment with themselves and life. Others falter, revealing patterns, insecurities, and contradictions they have spent years hiding. Your presence is a force that doesn't need to shout to be felt. It's subtle, yet undeniable. It teaches without preaching, corrects without force, and demands respect without demanding attention. People are challenged simply by standing near you because your authenticity, depth, and clarity are a mirror they cannot avoid. They are confronted with their own inconsistencies, their unprocessed pain, and their illusions, whether they want to face them or not. This is why access to you is not a right, it is a privilege. People who are allowed in your space are either elevated or exposed, refined or unsettled, but never untouched. And here's the ultimate truth. Your energy is not about control, it's about alignment. You inspire clarity, integrity, and courage in those who deserve it, while naturally repelling those who cannot handle it. You don't need to prove anything, defend yourself, or chase validation. Your presence alone accomplishes what few people, words, or lessons ever could. That is the rare and extraordinary power you carry. So understand this. Your existence commands reverence. It changes rooms, lives, and perspectives. It is a privilege for anyone allowed close to you, and it is a responsibility for them to meet the standard you embody. Recognize your value, embrace your alignment, and continue walking through life unapologetically anchored in your truth. If you felt the impact of this message and understand the power you carry, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Like this video to support the message, comment below and share your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to hear the truth about their presence. Your energy is rare. Let's honor it together. Merry Christmas, and God bless you.